Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way Galaxy, this is Brian Engelman, and we're in the Unhappy Hour. We're calling Zak Baris because we're going to break down what the Cavaliers just did in the 2019 NBA Draft.
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Living the dream, Zak. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you carving out the time live on draft night. This used to be the Cleveland Browns Super Bowl of the year when we got to draft, but now we're actually looking forward to the season, which is weird. But in order for the Cleveland Browns to live, the Cavaliers had to die. So now we're looking forward to the draft with the Cavaliers to rebuild the team. And we just made our selection. We got point guard Darius Garland out of Vanderbilt. And I couldn't think of anybody better to bring in to discuss who this player is, if it was the right decision or not, and how he's going to mesh with his new team and new head coach than you. So thank you. And where would you like to start?
It was funny. We were going over the other night on the show about, between Culver and Garland, who are they going to take? I said, as long as it's not DeAndre Hunter, I'm okay. Right. I remember this exact conversation. I did not want DeAndre Hunter on the Cavs. Felt like he was a guy with a low ceiling, great player. Reminds me a lot of Michael Kidd-Gilchrist as a pro, except a little bit better of a shooter. Now getting into Darius Garland, Garland's the guy I've wanted. I started thinking the Cavaliers were high on him the other day, which is why we wound up slotting him to Cleveland. So I'm very, very happy about this one with Garland coming to the Cavs. This is a guy I've wanted for a while now. He does a lot of things well. He can create shots, especially off the dribble. He kind of actually, he's got a kind of a similar career path. Don't forget, this guy played in 5 games. He's got a very similar career path to Kyrie Irving did coming out of college. I'm not saying he's the next Kyrie Irving. But I think he can be a damn good player. He can score the basketball. He can pass the basketball. The one thing he needs to work on, and this is something with the Cavs right now, at the current moment, the Cavaliers will be the worst defensive team of all time.
All time?
You've got Osman. You're an undersized backcourt now, but listen, Sexton can always be a future 6th man. Here's the thing. I love the pick of Jackson Hayes for Atlanta, too, by the way. It's going to New Orleans. I love the pick for New Orleans. New Orleans just keeps getting better and better. But getting back to the Cavs with Darius Garland, I think that the Cavaliers really hit a home run with this pick. I think he has sky-high potential. I do like him better than Kobe White. Jay Billis, I know, is more of a fan of Kobe White because he's a little bit quicker. Kobe White could be a better shooter. But I fully believe that Darius Garland could be in that, that Damian Lillard mode. If he's able to reach his ceiling, I think his ceiling is Lillard. And, if we have the proper coach and the proper development staff, if you can get him there, have Sexton coming off the bench in a year or two, and be that elite scorer off the bench and be a Lou Williams type, or even better scorer than Lou Williams, the Cavaliers have the making of putting the pieces together. And in 2 years from now, they'll have significant cap room. So this is really where you want to go. You still want to suck this year if you're the Cavaliers. You still want to suck right now if you're the Cavs because you still have that top 10 protected pick, which is now next year, which is conveyed now in the Atlanta trade to New Orleans. So the Cavaliers still have to suck for one more year.
Okay, now let me back up for a second. Were you saying you want to see Colin Sexton start coming off the bench? You don't project him as a...
I'm not saying this year. I'm saying eventually. I don't see them coexisting in a backcourt. It's an undersized backcourt. I don't think it'll be very good defensively. I think Sexton comes off better as a. I think Sexton comes off better as a future 6th man.
Okay, because he came on the second half of the year, and I was kind of hoping he might turn into.
I'm not saying he can't be. I'm not saying Sexton can't be a starter.
Right.
I just think his eventual role is a 6th man.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying he can't be a starter.
Okay. No, I hear you. So yeah, I was having the conversation about the comparisons to Kyrie Irving, saying that Darius Garland didn't play a lot of ball last year because of an injury, but Kyrie played half of one game and he broke his foot. So, how concerned are you about the injury? And just tell us, recap where he came from.
I don't think it's a nagging injury. Again, you always have to watch out with big guys and foot injuries, but he's not 6'10". He's not 6'11". It's not like he's a center coming off this.
Right.
I'm not too worried about it. I think the Cavaliers, though, I think they hit a home run with this pick. They're not going to be the talk of the draft. Obviously, there's the 3 players ahead of them. And then, obviously the pick by Atlanta at 4, getting DeAndre Hunter. I do think, though, that the Cavaliers potentially got a top 3 player in this draft. Eventually we'll look at it. Like I said, it's all these sure things in the draft every year. I can go down the list, look at past drafts, and go and look at, sure things of every draft. And by no means are we talking about that it's the top 3 guys. We can go back, let's hypothetically look at the 2015 NBA draft here for a sec.
Oh, I like this. I love when we go back and look at the previous drafts and kind of do a regrading.
Don't forget the home run picks. Karl Anthony Towns is a great player. D'Angelo Russell, an all-star. But Jahlil Okafor, they're right there. One of the 3 guys can't miss prospects in that draft. Right. Well, where do you wind up? Porzingis wound up over him. You had guys like Emmanuel Mudiay, who was supposed to be a great player, really never amounted to much. Just a turnover machine. Cauley Stein's a good player. Hazonia's already on his next team. That's the thing. Let's take a look at 16.
I love redrafting. We got to do another redrafting show. We got to figure out how many we've done and which ones need a full show. I love these.
16, you had Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, almost a can't miss prospect. People were comparing him to Kevin Durant at the time. Then you have Jaylen Brown 3rd in that draft. Jaylen Brown's been a better player than Brandon Ingram. Dragan Bender, who is, obviously the Croatian has turned out to be nothing. The Suns already caught him. Chris Dunn, who's supposed to be a great player. I was never high on Chris Dunn. We went over that. Buddy Hield's been a much better player. Jamal Murray's been a star at 7. Chris was a bust, and he's on the Cavs. Thon Maker, again, Milwaukee taking a pick. But you look at Sabonis, has become a good player at 11. Not a ton of stars in this draft either. But, Malcolm Brogdon at 36. Let's take a look at 17. This is really the draft that I was talking about. You had Fultz at the top. Who's a can't miss, and Lonzo Ball can't miss. Who's the stars of this? Jason Tatum at 3 was a reach. Is a star. Josh Jackson, pretty much a bust. De'Aaron Fox, star. Lauri Markkanen, probably going to be an all-star at number 7. And that's what I'm getting at. There were some pretty good players taking this draft in the later parts.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's not always the top picks that are guaranteed. For one, okay, again, 14 is not a good draft either because the draft wasn't that good. But, you had Jokic in the 2nd round. There haven't been a lot of all-stars coming out of these past drafts. So it's just tough to say. But, again, I think the 12 draft is the one I'm trying to highlight. Let's see.
Yeah, and there were...
Anthony Davis. Well, here's the thing. Your guaranteed stars in this draft coming out really were Davis, Kid Gilchrist, and Bradley Beal. Mm-hmm. And Thomas Robinson. Those are your 4 stars coming out. Thomas Robinson was supposed to be the most NBA ready. I thought he was going to be a stud. He kind of reminded me of, kind of that Elton Brand, maybe even a Carlos Boozer type.
I loved Carlos Boozer, by the way. I loved his early game.
You have Davis and Beal, but you have Damian Lillard. Don't forget Harrison Barnes at one point was supposed to be the number 1 pick. Oh, Never really, he was a player. He won a championship. I'll give him that. He's a starter on the 73 and 9 Warriors. But Andre Drummond at 9. Draymond Green was at 35. Chris Middleton was at 39. There's some talent in that draft. So that's what I'm saying is that just because, there's a guarantee for a player coming out at a pick with the top 3, I do genuinely believe these top 3 will be very good players. They should all 3 of them be all-stars. But I don't think it's a guarantee on any level that all 3 will be all-stars. Right. I think Zion for sure will be an all-star. But I don't think it's a guarantee with John Morant. There's just so many good point guards, even though I like Morant a lot. And I like Barrett too, but Barrett's going to a really rough situation in New York.
Yeah, I looked at the draft needs for New York, and it said you need everything.
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, literally, you can't go and look at the Knicks right now and say, wow, okay, they don't have one player on their roster that would be starting on any other team in the league.
Good
That's how
grief.
bad they are.
That is awful. And they tanked to get Zion Williamson, and that didn't work. That's the beauty of the lottery, I guess. Go figure.
I mean, the Cavs tanked to get Zion, too. But, the thing is, it's not like R.J. Barrett's a crappy player. He'd be the number 1 pick in most drafts.
Right.
So I wouldn't take a look. It's just that R.J. Barrett could very well be a better player than Zion Williamson in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't forget, he was the number 1 consensus player coming into the season. There's no reason why he can't be the best player in this draft. I think it's a crapshoot between the top 3 picks. Obviously, Zion's got, all the hype. He's going to bring in the TV money with New Orleans. He's bringing the fans back. Barrett and John Morant wouldn't have done that. However, you could be looking back on this draft in a few years and say, wow, Darius Garland is the next Damian Lillard. RJ Barrett's the best. RJ Barrett's averaging 25 and 8. Zion's averaging 23 and 10. Or 23 and 13. And John Morant's a triple-double machine. You could be saying that in a couple of years. Say, wow, there are 4 to 5, 6 stars coming out of this draft. It's very likely that that'll happen. But at the same time, we've seen drafts go the wrong way. I think a lot of people are expecting Lonzo Ball to be a star right now and Brandon Ingram. It's a lot about player development, too, and the Lakers have failed to, develop their own players. D'Angelo Russell was an okay player in L.A., blossomed into an all-star in Brooklyn. That's talent development right there. If you look what the Nets have done with their team, guys like Jared Allen, guys like, you look at that roster right now, and it's just like Brooklyn is filled with a bunch of mid-round picks, late picks too, because they've lost all their early picks over the last few years.
Right.
And it's unbelievable what the Nets were able to do over the last couple of years. And it's all homegrown talent for the most part.
Well, kind of like how the Warriors did it. Steph Curry wasn't a top number 1, number 2 pick. Draymond certainly wasn't.
No, neither was Draymond, and Klay Thompson wasn't top 5. Here's the thing. Like, I look at the Nets, really good development staff, great front office. Now, you look at guys like, again, obviously DeMar Carroll's not from there, but Alan Crabb, basically homegrown talent. Rondé Hollis Jefferson, Karis LeVert. Dinwiddie was with Detroit, but he was still young. That's what I'm saying. They've been developing these young players. Even Joe Harris, who never really got playing time with the Cavs, developed with the Nets into a serviceable NBA player. That's what they've been able to do. If they're able to add a Kyrie Irving and Kawhi Leonard in free agency, watch out.
Because they'd have the right infrastructure there, the right players around them, and that's what the Lakers are looking at now. They're saying that they screwed up the draft or the trade for Anthony Davis because they didn't wait until after the deadline, so they can't sign a third max player. But there's nobody else on that roster, like nobody else. And that's a tough spot.
No, and that's the problem. No, here comes the problem in free agency. It's either now the problem is you're going to have to take a third starter's only take a significant discount, or what you're going to have to do is get rid of guys like Kuzma and Mo Wagner to free up the space, who are your young talent right now. And do you want to do that? No. As much as you want to free up the space to do it, problem is if you don't get a third max guy, you're going to wind up with guys in the mid-tier level, getting, like I said, they're not bad players, but in today's NBA, you need 3 stars to win, basically. You need close to 3 stars to win or a bunch of really, really good players. And they don't have anything. They don't have anything like that other than Davis and LeBron on the roster right now.
Right. Let me stick with the Lakers, and I want to ask you this question. I'm reading to you out of The Ringer. This was an article published, and it's pretty interesting, talking about Space Jam. It says, what if there weren't a problem, though? What if Space Jam 2 wasn't a movie about players from around the league getting abducted by cartoon aliens, but a movie about LeBron James' Lakers teammates getting abducted by aliens? And what if that movie paid Thompson $5 million to appear, talking of Klay Thompson? And what if Klay Thompson decided not to sign with the Lakers, then all of a sudden Space Jam's producers, one of whom is James, decided that Jimmy Butler should get that $5 million role instead? What if Anthony Davis, who was under contract till 2021, agreed to take less money on his next deal, but was promised a cut of the box office from Space Jam, which conveniently comes out in 2021? What if Chris Paul did the same in exchange for waiving his 2021-22 player option with the Rockets and signing a new contract in 2 years with the Lakers? Although we know Chris Paul would never waive that option, we're just throwing out wild ideas. Zach, what are your thoughts on LeBron James' production company with Spring Hill having the possibility to pay the players the difference of what the discount might be? And would that be something under the NBA's collective bargaining agreement that could run afoul of other NBA owners who might challenge that?
I mean, there's a possibility on it. I mean, yeah, I think everything has to come into perspective there. It's not even something that came to my mind to even think about it. But yeah, I could see that, LeBron giving a player in the movie an extra $12 million to subsidize what they're not getting in their contract.
Oh, yeah.
I could see that.
You know,
I think it walks a very, very fine line. I mean, that's the thing is, what if an NBA owner created another LLC? I think this walks a very fine line, because what stops Dan Gilbert from developing another LLC, another, let's just say a shell company. I'm not saying he's doing this, but let's just say hypothetically. What stops him from developing a shell company, with a production company and having, let's just say Ben Simmons in 3 years, or, when he hits free agency in a couple of years, starring in, his production company with a $100 million contract for doing for promoting StockX.
Right. And there are a lot of people that wondered very out loud if LeBron James cut some sort of deal to own a part of the Cavs or have a chance to purchase the Cavs once his playing career is done.
Obviously that didn't happen.
Well, I mean, but we'll see when he retires. We'll see.
I don't know. I think him leaving casted any doubt on that now.
Maybe.
I don't think he's going to have any equity in the Cavs. I don't think he's going to have any ownership in the Cavs. I think this is booming at the right time for LeBron, where Gilbert might sit on the team for another couple of years. I mean, don't forget, let's get into Dan Gilbert's health real quick.
Yeah.
Dan Gilbert was in the hospital until today. He is out of the hospital, but he is transferred to an inpatient rehab center. That doesn't mean he's at home. It means he's in a rehab center. So that's not exactly strikingly good news.
Yeah, we were having that discussion in the Unhappy Hour. By the way, if you're not in it, it's the Unhappy Hour Sports Show, a support group. It's on Facebook. It's a private group. Do the search, the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. But we were having a conversation. One of the members, they had something similar to a stroke. And I said, well, wait, is this good news or bad news? And he said, man, this stuff takes a long time to recover from. So knowing that it was only 2 to 3 weeks or whatever it was with Gilbert in the facility, that's actually good news that it's on this timeline. Because I didn't know what to think about that either. So, maybe it's good news, maybe it's not. I mean, he's still with us, and he's the only champion. He's the only owner in Cleveland that ever brought me a championship. So I'm forever grateful for that. But yeah, I mean, the future of the franchise could theoretically be in jeopardy, depending on whether or not he can or cannot come back from this health episode that he had. And there's still question marks around exactly what, I guess we know it's a stroke now, but it's interesting because we watching the Major League Baseball talking about the Tampa Bay Rays maybe splitting time and going up to Montreal for half the year, calling them the Snowbirds or something. Franchises move all the time, and I think you've said on the show before that LeBron James. X-rays. Yeah, the Montreal X-Rays. That's good. I like that. The Montreal X-Rays.
I didn't make it up. I saw it on Twitter today. I can't take credit for it.
No, that's fine. And I like the Snowbirds a lot. Somebody in the group posted that one. It just makes a lot of sense to go down to Florida like everybody does, like a snowbird. But anyway, I think on a previous show you said that LeBron James may have saved the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise when he came to town. Just how rough it was with Gordon Gund and that ownership group. So it's a
tenuous. They were looking at moving to San Jose at the time.
It's a tenuous partnership with any franchise. So it will be interesting to watch. Devil's advocate. I mean, I don't want to think if Dan can't come back, but I mean, do you think there's an ownership group that just stays in if he can't assume day-to-day responsibility? Who knows? Do you have any inside track on?
I have no inside track to know what's going on there. I honestly, I don't know if he's okay. I haven't seen him, obviously, but I can tell you it's not good physically if he's still in a rehab center. I mean, hopefully he's getting okay, but to be in the hospital that long, it's a really long time.
You're right. You are right about that. Let me get back to Darius Garland for a second and the new Cavaliers head coach. As far as player development, you said that was going to be the cornerstone of why this hire occurred in the first place. What do you see happening based on what you know of the coach and what you know of the player Darius Garland? How do you anticipate this transition is going to go for both of them, being a new NBA rookie and then being a rookie head coach?
I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be a tough transition next year for Beeline just because the Cavaliers don't have a lot of talent on their roster. Mm-hmm. Although I do think they'll be better than a year ago. That's something. You do get a year improvement out of Sexton. If Sexton's able to take that lead from the first half of the season, the second half of the season to next year. But again, I've been on the show 1,000 times and I've reiterated the point every time. How often is a rookie making positive contributions to your basketball team? It's very rare in the NBA to see a rookie playing significant minutes, making positive contributions. It's not the NFL. It's very, very difficult for the transition in the NBA.
Right.
So that's what I'm getting at here, and that's why I say I think. Listen, let's take it honest like this. The Cavaliers were healthy last season. They would have been much, much better.
Of course, yes. I think we're better than a team that's going to tank next year. If Tristan's healthy, if Love's healthy.
Don't forget, this is a team that had Jared. They're going to tank. I'm telling you. They had Jared Blossom on the court most games. There were guys I didn't even know who the hell they were. like I'm being serious. Like when they checked in the game, I was like, huh? I was like, who?
Well, that's how I felt about the Cleveland Indians a lot of this season. Going, huh? Who's it? What?
No, I said that. I remember the answer. Who's Jordan Luplow?
Jordan Luplow. It sounds like a unsuccessful car insurance salesman, Come see me.
Yeah,
Jordan Luplow. Sure, I will.
Yeah, State Farm agent.
Okay, so that being the question, I'm getting over here on the Facebook group, Michael Ray is asking, if we're going to be tanking, should we trade Kevin Love?
Well, that's the thing is, I don't think they want to trade Kevin Love, and I really, I think their night to trade him was tonight. He could still be moved, but I think it's just less likely that he's going to be moved. I think if they were going to swing a deal, they would have swung it.
To move up.
I don't see that one happening.
Okay. So, we obviously went and re-signed him and paid big money to do so. It's not a feeling we're stuck with Kevin Love. We wanted to be with him, right? But I just don't. Because he's too good. He's going to get you wins. I know in some regards we don't have a talented roster, but Listen,
I don't think they want to lose every game. That's not the goal, and especially in today's NBA, where you're not really incentivized to lose every game.
Right.
That's the point of it. They don't want you losing every game anymore. It's too much of a risk to sit there and try to lose every game and then wind up with the fifth pick.
Yeah, looking at you, Chicago Bulls, Phoenix Suns. Right in the mirror for us.
You look at it, and a team like Phoenix, who probably would have taken John Morant #1 overall. It's just it honestly sucks for a team like that. You can't sit there and rely on the tank every year. Because again, let's say there's a super talented draft where there's two really talented players. Your odds used to be if you get the worst record in the league, your odds would be 50% of picking in the top two. You don't have those odds anymore. Now you're guaranteed a top 6 pick, or top 5, and that's all, or top 6 even.
That's brutal. That is just brutal. Do you really think the Suns would have passed on Zion, or were you just saying that to say it?
I think the Suns would have passed on Zion.
Wow. I might have missed that, but why do you say that? Was there a story about that?
They were obsessed with John Morant, yeah.
Oh, okay. I actually had no idea about that. In some of these players, it's just a given. It's a foregone conclusion that Zion's going to get drafted. But actually, it turns out, these players, they got up. The first few of them got up and started crying. They were kind of they appeared to me at least to be relieved. They appeared to be relieved and not surprised, but it seemed a genuine moment that they didn't know. So, they were on pins and needles too. We all expected Zion to go #1, but I guess you just don't know until you know. Do me a favor. Tell me about what happened with the Hawks pick, because David Griffin is wheeling and dealing still. What were the details there? You said you loved who they got.
The pick that Cleveland conveyed to Atlanta for the what's it called deal, for the Korver deal. New Orleans acquired that today. So Cleveland picks outside of the top 10 next year. That goes to New Orleans. So it's from Cleveland to Atlanta to New Orleans. Okay. But no, Griffin swung a ton of players, gotten a lot of talent. I don't think he's done yet. I think Griff's totally just reworking that entire roster, reconfiguring that entire roster. And I think he's doing it in a good way. And it just makes you look at it again. I was talking with someone earlier about it. I said, really? They let this guy go? Like, the Cavaliers let this guy go and he was out of work for a year, and because no team would offer him an insane amount of money like he deserved. The guy's a genius. Think about how much money he can make you if your team's actually good and going to, being a contender in the playoffs. I was talking about it with someone today. Imagine if you would have traded, let's say, Kevin Love and something for Paul George. Odds are you would have had Paul George and Kyrie Irving last year.
Oh, that would have been a much different team.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. Okay, well, I don't know if you're watching it live, what you think about the other picks. Culver, you like him going to the?
Yeah, I like Culver. I like Kobe White better, but I do like Culver.
And then White going to the Bulls. Nice there.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something the Bulls desperately needed. You now have a great 3-point shooter to pair with, with Lauri Markkanen. I do like Kobe White a lot. I like Garland a little bit better, but I think Kobe White could be a great player.
A couple of comments here. Rob is saying we got the smallest backcourt ever. How big of a problem is that going to be?
I already said that.
Well, I mean, for the defensive angle, I guess that's where we're going to get
Anthony Austin is the worst, worst defensive player in the league. Imagine those three and you're starting. It's going to be a nightmare.
Now, Rob is also high on 6'9" Cam Reddish. You're not. You went over this a couple days ago, but for Rob, who may not have got to catch it, what did you not really see that in Cam Reddish that made you want to stay away? I know you weren't a big fan.
Work ethic. He's lazy, and it was work ethic.
And we've seen how that plays out.
Laziness. And we've seen that happen before, and it does not translate well. If players want to work, it creates a lot better scenario. When have you ever seen a player that's lazy and done super well in the pros? Look at guys like Eddie Curry. Insane talent, failed.
Right.
It's just all over the place. You look at this all the time. Anthony Bennett, same way.
Yeah, Anthony Bennett was a great example.
I wouldn't take any player that had a bad work ethic. It's Brian, picture this in your job too. You're a smart guy and you're hiring at work. Do you take the guy with the Harvard education who really never succeeded much, but he's gotten everywhere because of his Harvard education? Or are you going to take the guy from university, let's just say hypothetically, take the guy from the University of Michigan who's been working his way up the corporate ladder for years? Take out the Ohio State factor of this. Who are you going to take? Yeah. Are you going to take the kid with the Harvard education and take the kid slightly, might not be as smart because he went to Michigan, let's just say hypothetically, but he's worked his way up the corporate ladder, and everywhere he's gone, he's got promoted. Who are you going to take at that point?
Honestly, I'd probably take the kid from Bowling Green because I'm not a fan of that school up north. But I get your point. Hard work and hustle. Watching a few of those top draft picks, they brought up their dad and they brought up their mom, and they just talked about how hard they were working and, showing the footage of their 5 a.m. drills, their shooting drills, and all their.
How can you not love Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett? How can you not love these kids that are
really
up there? Like, Zion's probably already the most likable player in the NBA. There's nothing you can dislike about him.
And him getting up there and crying and having a hard time getting through it, I love those moments.
The same thing. These are both two well-spoken kids. They're good kids. They're very good athletes. You look at Reddish sitting out the tournament, and that's all you need to say right there is, for precautionary reasons. Wasn't injured. He just sat out. You look at Zion, who's playing on a bum foot, with an injury. It's literally everything to lose playing in that game.
Right.
That's all you need to know.
And that's fair. That goes into the scouting, the importance of scouting and really understanding. And I think that's kind of like why the Patriots, why the Steelers, there's I'm switching sports, obviously, but there's a reason why teams that draft well and have a good culture, a good steady culture in their front office, you draft the right type of player. And I really feel like John Dorsey on the Browns has finally drafted the right types of players, the real talented, the ones that have it. They have that fire. It's not just getting talent that doesn't care. It's people that live it and breathe it and practice it and spend the time on it. Okay, real quick, let's just bounce through some of these, how they fit on their teams, because I know this was a big part of why we kind of cut the show short last time, because we just didn't know what trades were going to happen and what to expect. Do you like Hayes, the center out of Texas, going to the Pelicans?
I like Jackson Hayes a lot. I think he's got a lot of potential.
Who would you compare him to? What type of player is he? He's a center. Does he? He's a center. Texas has been known for producing big men, from Tristan Thompson to Miles Turner. Steady big men in the NBA. They always have. Right. Yeah. So, and not quite what we would think of as a big man, but Kevin Durant, I believe, played at Texas too. What about Hachimura out of Gonzaga going to play in Washington?
I love that pick by Washington, but Washington needs to decide what they're doing.
Yeah, it feels like some of their, like the Bradley Beal maybe being traded, maybe not. It just feels like it's like stuck on the vine. Like those grapes are going to turn sour.
Hachimura is a really good player, but you need to decide if you're here's the problem. If you're the Wizards, what are we doing? We're already not getting, Masai Ujiri, he's not leaving Toronto anymore, to go to Washington. So if you're the Wizards, seriously, what's your move? Obviously, John Wall and Brad Beal is going to get you an 8th seed at best in the East now. Maybe a 6th seed at best, let's just say. But you're not going to do any real movement. You're stuck in purgatory. So either tear the thing down to the studs, build around Brad Beal, or build around John Wall, because you can't build around both. That's already proven. And you have not been able to build around both. You have two individuals who arguably make up one of the 3 most talented backcourts in the NBA, along with the Portland Trail Blazers and the Golden State Warriors.
Well, and we saw what Toronto did.
And the Houston Rockets with CP3 and Harden.
Right.
But just because there's 2 amazing players doesn't mean it always translates into success. We've witnessed that.
Well, and we saw in Toronto, you had DeMar DeRozan and you had Kyle Lowry for how many years? And it got you real close, but it couldn't get you over the top.
I mean, those are two fringe all-stars, though. Lowry was an all-star, but Lowry was always like the worst all-star point guard in the East. Would have never been an all-star point guard in the West. And that's all I'm saying. It's nothing against Kyle Lowry.
No, that's fair. I understand. Jay in the chat room, he's chiming in. He says, I love our pick. If he didn't get hurt last season, he would have went number 2 overall. I agree about Cam Reddish. I think we'll see something else to move up here shortly for the Cavs. I'd love to see Alexander from Virginia Tech here. So point number 1, do you think he could have been number 2 pick overall had he not been injured? With Darius Garland?
It would have been the number 2 pick overall, Darius Garland? I don't know about that. Morant was that good, and so was Morant and Barrett were that good. I don't know. We'd probably have gone 4. I mean, everything's a toss-up. I just don't think so.
No, that's fair.
I think Morant was so good. Zion was so good. And Barrett has such high ceiling. No, I really don't see it.
Gotcha. And then
it's always possible. I'm not going to get an argument about what if. I mean, it is possible, but I just don't think it's likely.
Okay. No, I gotcha. Rolling through here, we got Cam Reddish on the Hawks. What about Johnson out of North Carolina going to the Suns? You like that pick? I mean, that's a low pick for the Suns, man. But
problem, what the Suns have, yes, they have Dario Saric now. Where is their point guard on their roster? Unless you wind up with D'Angelo Russell in free agency, where's your point guard? Or Kyrie Irving. Don't forget, I'm not saying Kyrie Irving is going to Phoenix, but Phoenix was one of the desired teams for Irving just 2 summers ago.
Why was that?
I'm not saying
what connection did he have to the Suns? Why did he want to do that?
Probably to play with Devin Booker.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a good point. I totally forgot. What about
if knowing Kyrie and Kyrie being as weird as he is, you never know.
He is weird. I'm very happy that's not a problem anymore. Obviously, I miss going to the finals, but he is a weirdo, and now he's ghosted the Celtics.
You don't miss going to the finals, Brian.
Yeah, I don't miss that at all. Yeah, I loved what was it, yesterday, seeing all the 3 years since the Cavs won their championship. All those videos started going around. Mm-hmm. God, I still get nervous watching it. I still cry watching it. It's been 3 years, dude. 3 years. I know how it turns out, and I'm still nervous.
I still have it sitting on my DVR.
If I wouldn't have got rid of my cable, I probably have it on my DVR too. It's just an amazing, looking in the rearview mirror to believe it's been that long ago.
I saw the news segment afterwards on the DVR too.
Man, I was too busy crying to pay attention to most of the things. But anyhow, wrapping this up here, moving at some of the picks that we have. Washington out of Kentucky going to the Charlotte Hornets. You a fan? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Again, at this point, you're not picking for superstardom, you're rather picking high ceiling players.
Okay.
Or what you're doing is you're picking for rotational players at this point of the draft.
Gotcha. Well, the Cavaliers at number 26, are you still hoping that they can move up? Maybe you weren't hoping, but maybe if we were
I don't even think you have to move up unless there's a player you really, really want.
Right.
If you're content sitting back there, the Cavaliers don't have a lot of assets to sit and move, to go and swing a trade up. Yes, they can take on a bad contract and trade J.R. Smith. That's their only point right now where they can go with this. So,
that's a good point.
Do they bring a deal with the Heat? I don't know what they do, but if they really want to swing up a trade, like I said, the one player that I really want is Bol Bol. The Cavs love him as a shooter, and if he's healthy, he's going to be a steal. If he's not healthy, then you know what you're getting. But again, he's a 7 foot, he's 7'3" and can shoot, or 7'4", whatever he is.
That is wild, man. That is a big boy. Hero just got picked out of Kentucky to the Miami Heat, by the way. With the Celtics on the clock. All right, man. Well, dude, thank you for coming in and joining us, talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, thanks again, Brian. And if I'm around later and not asleep yet, then I'll be up for the I've been just waking up super early lately, so I don't know if I'll be up for a phone call after the 26th pick or if something happens, but we'll keep texting and keep you posted. That
sounds like a plan to me. I certainly appreciate it. And Jay chimed in the chat room. I was just thinking about Bol Bol. Let's get him. Hey, let's find out. I love his story. I love his pedigree. I love his height. It's a fun name to say. I would love that. But we'll see how it shakes out. Zach, thank you for your time. We'll talk to you again soon, pal. To be continued. Take care. All right, guys. There goes Zach. Thank you for joining us. Click subscribe on this channel. We also have another one. I guess for the people watching, can you do me a favor? Oh, where's the link? Because I have the new YouTube channel, but I need to get 100 subscribers before I can give it a specific name. So until I have the specific name, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to chop this up. I'm going to put it onto our sports-only channel. And how am I going to do this? You know what? I'm going to post a link. Just follow it in the group and find our new channel, because we're going to move over and we're going to do all sports on the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. And try to make it youtube.com/theunhappyhour sports show and go from there. But anyway, I'm going to get back to the draft. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Appreciate you. To be continued. All right, peace.